10,000 kilometers, a big milestone for most cars and most car owners. So today, I'm just going to jump straight in and talk about my experiences and my thoughts in my first 10,000 kilometers in the BYD Sealion 7. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Charles. For those who don't actually know me, I'm running this channel as a means of helping all BYD Sealion 7 owners to maximize the potential of their car. Not just sometimes BYD Sealion 7, but BYDs in general. Whenever there's some crossover. So today specifically, I'll be talking about my ownership journey, and it's been 4 months, and I've clocked the magic milestone of 10,000 kilometers. So jumping straight in, the first thing I want to talk about is repairs. If you're wondering if there has been any repairs the last 4 months and the first 10,000 kilometers, the quick answer is no. There has not been any repairs. The car has been running as smooth as it can be. So yeah, I think that's essentially a very good news for most who are considering the Sealion 7. How about the drive? The drive have been largely uneventful. And I think as an owner of a car, uneventful or boring, I think it's not a bad thing, I reckon, because the car just performs as it's expected to be. I mean, after all, it's a family car, right? But I must mention that the ICC, or Intelligent Cruise Control, is still very, very far from being usable / perfect. If you want to kind of check out my video on ICC, you can go check that out. I talk in depth about why it's not working well. But net of it is that I personally have very little confidence of the autopilot and the intelligent cruise control. As for the ACC, it functions as per normal. No dramas there. It keeps distance well. It holds speed well. Yeah, I think by and large, it actually works pretty well. So there's a lot of people that comment about the wind noise on the Sealion 7. If you ask me personally, can you actually hear and feel the wind noise? I don't actually think there is a whole lot of wind noise. I mean, there's some wind noise coming from the side mirrors, but by and large, you really have to strain your ears to really hear the wind noise. If you look up reviews by third-party car reviewers, they always say and always comment about, oh, you know what, the wind noise is terrible, you can hear it at speed. Frankly, the noise that you actually hear a lot more prevalent is actually the road noise coming from the tires. But of course, they are also mentioned by some folks that, hey, the noise might be coming through the doors, the seals may not be great. But I have none of those issues, so I can't actually truly validate that. But yeah. So in my first 5,000 kilometers review, I actually mentioned that I had a couple of instances of phantom braking. Funnily enough, or interestingly enough, I haven't had any instances of phantom braking since then. It could be a few reasons why I haven't had it, because maybe I actually know what causes the phantom braking, and hence I stay away from those situations. And I've also kind of turned off the notification for emergency braking to late, and maybe because of that, the whole occurrence of phantom braking has been completely eliminated. But again, it's good to know that it's a very one-off occurrence, and it hasn't happened ever since. Having said that, I actually have a few random instances where, when you start to park your car, and when you park your car, you always go between reverse and drive, because obviously you're adjusting your car, to kind of back into a parking spot. There has been many times when you think you have engaged reverse, but in actuality, the car is still locked in drive. So yeah, a bit of those kind of misses, which I actually don't really understand why, because it feels really tactile when you kind of push it into reverse as if it's engaged, but somehow it didn't. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, that one. So a quick break. If you're looking to buy the Sealion 7, you're probably also comparing it with the Tesla Model Y or the Xpeng G6. I've put together a simple side-by-side table with real-world owner feedback based on my research when I bought the car. You'll find the link in the description, and if you find it helpful, it's a small way to support and contribute to the channel too. But now, let's get back to the video. In terms of power consumption, it's been largely very, true to point. I know a lot of the data sheets or spec sheet of the Sealion 7, it talks about consumption being between 15.5 to 17. And for city driving, and for the most part of my driving, which is in the city, a little bit of highway driving, it's come to an average of about 15.4, 15.5. So I would say it's pretty spot on. I mean, some might kind of say, hey, it's not very efficient, etc., etc. And I think the inefficiencies come if it's going on long, long road trips, because obviously the weight of the car and everything else in between kind of makes consumption a lot higher. But for everyday city driving, start-stop traffic, I think it's as efficient as can be, and probably rivals your usual model Tesla wise, and your Xpeng G6, etc., etc. So the last thing I want to mention about drive, which a lot of people always comment, is about body roll. Is there body roll? The quick answer is yes. There is some level of body roll. I mean, it is a very highly sprung car, right? So if you drive it very, very, getting into corners really quick, you do actually see it being, much like a SUV, right? It kind of rocks around a little bit more. And not to mention, the tires are pumped up pretty hard, so you can actually feel the vibration a little bit more from the tires most of the times. As I kind of use the car as a daily driver more and more, it becomes a little bit more noticeable. And for some who say, hey, you know what, you get all this whole floaty and boat-like feel at the back. Yeah, it can happen, especially when you're driving at speed over relatively uneven roads. So unfortunately, that's the nuances of having a very highly sprung, comfortable car. I've also seen on third-party forums where some folks have put more reinforcement on the suspensions to reduce those body rolls. Again, I'm glad those things exist. So if you really want to kind of eliminate some of those, you can definitely check those out. Moving along, let's talk about charging. Charging has largely been a breeze. I've charged I think most of you know, I actually charge at home most of the time. But of course, I've also had my fair share of public charges when I needed to, both in Singapore and Malaysia. I would say no dramas to date, except for one instance where I was in Malaysia where the AC charger was busted and I couldn't charge it. But otherwise, yeah, it's been largely problem free. No dramas whatsoever with the battery as well. No weird notification. It's performing as it should. So it's all been good. One thing to note though for new owners, sometimes when you plug in the charger and maybe for a long time, you might notice that the car turns on the fan real hard to kind of cool the battery as it is charging. It feels as if you accidentally left the car on, but it's absolutely normal because the battery does heat up when you kind of plug it in for a long time to charge. So yeah, and it's not a surprise as well if you come back a long session of charging, the car cabin is a little warm as well. So that's to be expected, and at least I've noticed it in my first 10,000 kilometers. Let's talk about the interior. The interior has largely held up well. No dramas there because, and also to note, I actually use all the seats relatively often because I've got my family to ferry around, extended family, and the list goes on. One thing of significant note is that because the Sealion 7 in our region are only in black, the entire interior is black, it tends to be a bit of a dirt and dust magnet. You will notice that the console, the dash, because it's sort of like plastic, dust just collects that, and it's very obvious. Likewise for the seat, a bit of dust everywhere. If you tend to have, maybe snacks in the car, it kind of gets stuck in the crevices. So it's a bit unsightly. So you kind of need to kind of dust it off every now and then. But otherwise, from a build quality perspective, there's nothing much to complain about. Moving on to the exterior. Okay, so this is something I'm not sure if it's just me, right? What I've noticed something interesting about the car. I actually bought the Atlantis Grey, if I believe that's the color. So it's kind of a bluish hue to it. Do drop me a comment if this happens to you, or maybe it's just me being unlucky. I realized that it is a bird poop magnet. I every now and then, almost every time when I get my car washed, before long I'll get like speckles of bird poop landing on the car, and it's more so this car than any of my previous cars. I did a bit of research. It seems to me that birds prefer to kind of poop on red cars, and the second most pooped on cars is blue. So I'm not too sure if that's the reason, but yeah, happy to see what everybody's thought process is on this. But yeah, I do clean off a lot of poop on the car. On the subject of bird poop, obviously sometimes the bird poop lands on the windscreen. And on this subject, a lot of people have kind of provided feedback that, hey, you know what, the wipers have very little water coming out of it. For those who are not aware, the Sealion 7 uses a different water jet system for the windscreen. Not your typical, spraying off the front hood onto the windscreen. It actually has water coming out from the blades of the wipers. So a lot of people are complaining, hey, you know what, the water volume is very low, blah, blah, blah. What's my thoughts? And is this happening on my Sealion 7 as well? Quick answer is yes, the water is a lot less coming out from the wipers than it is coming from the jets. But having said that, I think it does a relatively decent job because a lot of the water now is not wasted spraying all over the screen, but on the areas where it actually makes sense. But having said that, it's not always efficient in cleaning up crap on the screen. So what I've kind of countered with was, put a little bit more detergent in the wiper fluid compared to water and have the ratio changed a little bit. It's worked relatively okay, not perfect, but it gets the job done. Another thing to note, specifically with the Sealion 7 as well, the noise leakage from internal of the car outside, it's pretty obvious. So what do I mean by that? So if you turn on your radio or any music from within the car, you can actually hear it very, prevalently outside the car. And it doesn't even need to be loud. So I'm not too sure why that is the case, because from an insulation perspective, outside noise coming into the car, it does pretty well. But on the reverse, not so well. I might do a little bit more research, but that's something to kind of take note of. So there's a lot of rumors floating around in the social media space about how the BYDs in general have very poor reverse cameras, so much so that BYD owners always knock into a post or knock into something. I haven't knocked into anything, thankfully, but I must say this though: the camera angles are very, very wide. Sometimes things look further than it really is. So, for example, there are times that I thought I got a whole lot of space based on the camera, but in actuality, it's actually really, really near. But nonetheless, I haven't had any issues, so to speak. But something for you guys to kind of experiment. Happy to kind of hear your thoughts about what you think about the camera, but definitely it seems like there's a lot of space, but yeah, a lot less space than actually I thought it was. Last thing on the exterior I want to talk about is actually Tyre Wear. As of the last review at 5,000 kilometers, the folks at BYD did a measurement for me, and it's 5 millimeters all around. So I bought myself a little Tyre Wear measurement kit, and so yeah, I measured the front tires. It's still about 5 millimeters, and the rear is slightly less than 5. It's about 4.5. So to those critics out there that talk about, oh, you know what, the car is so heavy, it's going to, chew up your tires, it's going to change your tires, very often, unfortunately, I think it's going to last for a while. So given that, for 10,000 kilometers, I lose about a millimeter, well, I think it's normal wear and tear. I don't necessarily think that's like drastically more than any typical car. So, yeah. The next thing I want to talk about, it's the software, everybody's favorite topic on the BYD. Frankly, it's a love-hate relationship for me with regards to the software. It's still my biggest pet peeve with regards to the software. But at the same time, it's also something that I really like about it. So let's kind of talk that through. As of the time of this video, the latest software on the BYD Sealion 7 is actually the 2503. My car is one release behind, which is the 2412. For some of you that may not know, 2412 essentially is the December of 2024, and 2503 is March 2025. Some of the cars that have gone in for servicing have had the upgrade of 2503. And well, a lot of us who got the cars and the OTA hasn't been pushed out, stuck in 2412. So my take on it is that my pet peeve here is the inconsistencies of how these softwares have been rolled out. There are some markets around the world that I've seen are already being pushed out via OTA for 2503. So I still don't understand why some markets have it early, some markets have it late, and why, even the same markets, there are discrepancies in the firmware. So definitely something that BYD can do better as a collective, and do it much like our friends at Tesla, right? Do a push, everybody gets something similar across the globe. But the good part about having pseudo flaky software like this, or the fact that it actually runs Android, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you and me to customize the system and customize the car to how you and I would use it, right? And personalize it. For example, I may use certain apps that you don't, and likewise, you do certain apps that I don't. I like the fact that we can all do a little customization of that. Compared to a very locked down system like Tesla, yeah, you're pretty much stuck with what Tesla wants to give you and allows you to use. So I think that's a really, really big upside in most cases, and I hope it remains that way. Other than that, I don't think there is any other software quirks that I didn't really mention in the first review at 5,000 kilometers. So it's been functioning the way I want it to function, and it's all good. So to wrap it all up, am I still happy with the purchase? Yeah, sure. I mean, it's really. I mean, to be fair, every car has its little nigglies, but it's a question of whether you can live with those nigglies. And overall, has it been a great experience? And it's a resounding yes. I know there's a lot of cynics out there, and I've seen it in all the comments that, oh, you know what, he's bought the car, he's obviously gonna love the car. But you know what, guys, I don't actually need to love the car. And I'll kind of address the elephant in the room that a lot of people has kind of put comments down as well. I do not work for BYD. BYD doesn't give me a cent for doing what I do. I do it because I just want to kind of share with the community what my thoughts are. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you're wondering why the name of the channel is BYD Buddy, it's simply because it just came as a bit of a joke. I bought a BYD car, and just so happened when I bought the car, it was mid-season in the NBA, and my favorite team was Golden State Warriors, and the player that was on fire at that moment for a short period of time was Buddy Hield, and hence BYD Buddy. So hopefully that's been useful for you guys. I know some of you may still be sitting on the fence as to whether it makes sense. Hopefully it's given you a little bit of a perspective of the durability, the reliability, and the experiences of an owner after using it for 10,000 kilometers. And as always, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.